I'm actually a pretty big fan of the active careers that came with Get to Work, but sometimes I wish the lots that you went to were a little bit different. For example, I don't hate the default hospital that came with Get to Work. I just wish that there were a few things changed about it. It functions just fine. Obviously, it has all the things you need to finish your workday, but sometimes I feel like it's a little bit too big, maybe a little bit too spread out, and also kind of lacking a couple things. Like, oftentimes when I need to use one of these, they're both being taken, so I kind of wish I had more. I wish the lighting was a little bit different. I wish the back looked different because it bothers me so much how it's not symmetrical. The way it's like almost symmetrical, but then just not, makes me want to cry. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually edit these Get to Work lots. It might look like you can't. It says you cannot modify a lot while your sim is working, but there is a cheat you can type in that'll let you. You can type bb.enable free build, and then with that cheat, you can actually edit like any lot in game, even like the secret lots. If you were to have your sim go to that secret lot in Willow Creek, you can edit that one. You could edit like your neighbor's house if you wanted to even. And it also gives you infinite funds, which is quite useful. So I was thinking today we could maybe try and rebuild this hospital from scratch. I know it's a bit of a bold decision, but don't worry, if you download a new lot, the hospital does still function, I promise. So with that being said, I think we should just get started. So you'll notice that I actually kept a couple of things on this lot when I started building it. Number one, I left the floor because I wanted to have just like a big solid concrete slab to build on. But I also kept a lot of the items, like the furniture pieces that were previously in the hospital, because the hospital has a lot of like necessary items to function. Obviously the surgery table, we've got like the front desk, all the different patient beds and stuff. And so I wanted to grab those for a couple reasons. Number one, you can get them back, they're in debug, but it's kind of hard to find and scroll through. But more importantly, I wanted to just make sure I remembered what I needed to put back into the hospital, right? Because that's kind of like a list. I've got this little pile of items of necessary things that I know I can just look at to then go back and add back into the building once I'm furnishing it. The whole point of this was to make a functional hospital, so I didn't want to like leave anything out because that ruins the whole purpose. Also, this hospital is just base game and Get to Work, so if you've got the pack and you want to play with this, you totally can. You won't have any missing items or anything. This was kind of an interesting build to do because number one, I don't build a lot of community lots in general, but number two, I don't often build hospitals in The Sims. It's kind of a different one. Mostly I build like, you know, a restaurant here and there or a library or something. The hospital is a little bit different. It's also interesting because this hospital has obviously very specific requirements because you want this to be functional for a very specific career. So when we're building something like this, there's a lot of stuff that might be more realistic or better for a real life hospital that we would then choose to omit or change from this Sims hospital because you want this to function in The Sims as opposed to being super realistic. So for example, I built this on stream and my chat was like, oh my gosh, you should add like bunk beds so that your sim can like sleep in between shifts and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of a fun idea, but obviously in The Sims, you probably won't be sleeping on the job too much when you're working here because you won't have a lot of time to. I also put in a gym into this hospital and my chat was like, why are you doing that? That's so unrealistic. But the thing is, the doctor career has you work out at work sometimes. So maybe having weight machines at the hospital is kind of unrealistic. You do need it for the career. And while I'm sitting here talking about Twitch to you, just so you know, I do stream every single day on my Twitch channel, and we're getting kind of close to 700,000 followers on Twitch. So if you want to pop in, I'll link my Twitch channel down below. It's fun to get to be a part of this sort of build live, especially because I rely so much on chat suggestions for things like this, because a lot of times I don't really know what I want to do. So it helps to have people like live in chat interacting to help figure out what to do with the hospital. Now, the other thing is this building is absolutely enormous. Now, the original build was pretty big too. I think they're actually kind of similar sizes, but the original build just did not use the second floor at all. Originally, I was planning on also not using the second floor at all because you have to keep in mind that while it would be fun to furnish the whole building, we're trying to think functionality here, right? And your Sims have to get around this hospital pretty easily. They want to be able to go between all the rooms and access everything fast so that they can finish all their stuff in their workday. So if you've got like a big, vast space that takes a long time to navigate, it becomes harder to like actually finish the career tasks. So originally I wanted to have nothing on the second floor. I wanted to have completely empty second floor of this building. I ended up making the second floor more into like the hospital staff area. It's got like a bit of a break room. It has the gym space for them. It has kind of those like necessities for the staff that like otherwise we don't really need to keep downstairs. There is also a second like more full cafeteria space downstairs. So hopefully your Sims will use that one more often than the upstairs upstairs one because the downstairs one is more functional and it's easier access than the upstairs one. Because ideally in my own gameplay, I'd prefer to like never have my Sims go upstairs just to save time, but there is 2 different cafeteria spaces here. I also put in some TVs. There's like a little TV in the break room and one downstairs in that cafeteria, and also like a couple couches for a couple reasons. One, if you need a quick pick-me-up, your Sims can nap there hopefully quickly, but also if their fun is low, they can watch some TV for a few minutes and try and get a boost of fun so they can hopefully finish their workday properly. Something else that I kind of considered adding into the build was like a kids play area almost. The first time I ever renovated the hospital, I added in like a whole kids play section, but looking back on that and like thinking about this from a more realistic gameplay perspective, it's fun to have like a cute little kids waiting area and have like some play area space for the kids, but those Sims will never use it. Like kids do come to the hospital, but all of the patients, they stay waiting right around the front desk. They don't wander anywhere else. They wait there until you get them and bring them to their hospital room, and then they just like do what you say as you bring them through their exams and stuff. So having that play area is completely like not functional. It won't be used by anybody ever. So again, it's one of those weird things where it's like, oh, this would be super fun to add because it would look cool, but functionally, is it worth messing with for the Sims build? I don't know. So I was kind of trying to balance most of this space being mostly functional in the Sims. I was trying to base it off of everything that your Sim really needed in the Sims 4 for it to work properly. And you're probably noticing it took me a long time to figure out the exterior of this building. I spent a really long time doing shapes and figuring out how it was going to look. Because again, I'm not an expert at this. I don't build a lot of community lots. I don't really know what I'm doing. The floor plan too took me a really long time. It was super hard to figure out how I wanted to space everything out. I think I managed to make it work pretty well, and I'll explain that once we get into it. But the key features are that number one, I wanted to have big open walkways to like easily have you access everything. I also wanted to have a super nice kind of cafeteria space right off that waiting room, because while I know that in The Sims, none of them actually use the cafeteria that don't work there, it's still nice to have like a little bit of pretend, so it being like close to the front sort of made sense to me. I also wanted to have more, hopefully, of like the appliances and things than the default one had, because like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times you need to use a computer, for example, for one of your career tasks, but all of the computers are currently being used by somebody else. So like you want to go in and use it so you can finish your little thing, but then somebody else is already using it so you can't. Oh, you know what? Sometimes I cut out things like this from my speed builds where I'm like struggling with floor plans and stuff because I feel like it's sort of useless to the video because, you know, it's not how it's going to end up looking in the end. I might as well just do like the second iteration where it actually works. But also sometimes it's nice to show off that like, you know what? We all take forever to figure this out. Sometimes it just works. Sometimes you try one thing and it just all kind of comes together. And then other times you sit here for ages, like trying over and over and over again to make it fit and it just isn't working. And this is one of those times where I was trying over and over and over again and it just felt like it wasn't working. I do think that eventually it came together. We just gotta get past the tough parts for it to finally work. And you'll notice that I was doing a lot of placing of objects, trying to sort of like map it out in my brain and think like, okay, I want to put these surgical machines here in this room, and then, you know, kind of try and figure out an order for everything. But really it was taking me a very long time because it's so difficult to try and find space for all this stuff, especially because a lot of them are kind of weird shapes. Like those surgery machines are actually quite big, and the x-ray machines are like big circle tube thing. Like it, you know, it's all very odd, but I do think in the end it kind of worked out. I also think that this finished build has maybe more beds than the original one does, although I'm not completely certain. It either has the exact same number or like 2 more when I finally finish with it, and I think that's a good number to be at. I feel like having the exact same amount or a little bit more is kind of right. I feel like that just is gonna work easily for us in gameplay. And I think one of the other key features you might be noticing is that there's that big hallway kind of along the whole side and back, and that's because I wanted like easy open access to have your Sims very easily route from the beginning, like the place where they first walk in, all the way through the rooms to each of the like exam rooms. I wanted it to be easy access, nothing to interrupt them, just easy access, no walking through things. Big open hallways is what we need for this because Sims are not smart and we need to make it very obvious to them how they can get around and get through stuff, because otherwise it's gonna end badly. I also had a really hard time with the bathrooms in this building for whatever reason. I think it's because I kept wanting to put in bathroom stalls, like toilet stalls, but obviously obviously we only have toilet stalls from university and I was just using the base game and get to work for this. So I had to do like regular individual bathrooms instead. And they're so small, like it's hard to fit them in. And I don't like doing like fake bathroom stalls anymore with like walls and stuff ever since we got the actual toilet stalls. So I just don't think it looks good. So I really struggle with bathrooms and the shape of bathrooms in this one. Again, I don't know why. It's weird. It shouldn't have been that much of a struggle, but it was. It really was. There ends up being, I think, 3 bathrooms on the first floor and then at least 2 more on the second floor. I wanted to have the ones upstairs have showers because I know the doctors sometimes need to shower, and also sometimes if you like have to work out, you have to shower. So I made sure we had those upstairs in that like more break room section I've been talking about. Something else you might notice is that eventually the entire color scheme of the whole exterior will change. And that's because I was trying to do this like little blue color scheme. I loved the blue shade of those windows because I never have used that really, and I kind of was trying to find a way to include that in this building, but I ended up changing my mind and going for more of like a brown window. I wanted to have like some more accent with like a darker trim, so I ended up switching like everything and then putting in some bricks. So that might be a little bit shocking when it finally comes through and changes like that, so for that I apologize. I lost a little bit of footage from the middle of this. I think it just happened, and I start like furnishing a little bit more properly, and I believe that the exterior may have been repainted. Oh, it hasn't been. Oh, so when do I paint it? Oh no. I built this on stream. It was a charity stream. I raised money for St. Jude for the entire month of May, so this is kind of dating this speed build, obviously. But because it was a charity stream, I was a little bit distracted, okay? There was a lot going on. It was very all over the place. I was jumping around a lot, so if I cut anything out or if I lost some footage, don't worry. I'll show you like at the end. I'll kind of walk you through it and show you everything. But there was a lot going on. We ended up raising $366,000 for St. Jude in May, just on my channel. I'm sorry, I am like so all over the place with this video as well. When I'm doing speed builds, I kind of just like talk at you. I talk so much. But one of the things that I liked about this build too was that I kind of had an excuse to use a lot of things that I don't normally get to. It also kind of shows you off a lot of things you kind of forget exist. Because I'll be honest, I don't really use a lot of the hospital themed items from Get to Work in my like everyday builds, you know? So it was kind of interesting to like dig around through the Get to Work catalog and look at all the things we had and try and fit them in here. I discovered a lot of cool items too. Like I kind of forgot we had that skeleton item. That like anatomy model was really fun to use. I put one in like a bunch of the rooms in here. I got to use like the vending machines and stuff. There's a lot of like hand sanitizer and security cameras that I was putting in. So that all just felt like it kind of worked in this building, which was quite fun. The kitchen was kind of weird because I sort of wanted it to be a bit more of like a place you could buy food as opposed to a place where you could make food, but you can't really do that. Like I don't have like a food stall or anything I could put in here. What I kind of want is like the cafeteria item from university, how you can just like buy a meal each day and they have like 3 different ones they're selling and it's like cooked food. I kind of would have preferred to do something like that for this cafeteria, but we don't really have that with Get to Work. So I ended up putting vending machines, but I also put a fridge, there's a microwave and also a coffee pot. So you could hopefully make some quick meals if you wanted to, like heat up a, I don't know, bowl of oatmeal or something. I also think that sometimes you have to use the coffee pot as like a career task. So I made sure I had 2 of those. There's one upstairs as well, because that way you can like certainly access it to make your coffee for work if you need to. There's a lot of weird little career tasks that you kind of forget about, and that's why it's hard to build hospitals from scratch, because at least the default hospital for sure has all those things you need, but like when you're building one, you've got to have like played the career recently so you don't forget anything you might require in the build, because it would really suck if you wanted to like play the career and you go in to use it and then oops, half the things you need just aren't in the building. But I think it should be okay because I have played recently, and so I was making sure we had everything in. We play tested it. I built it on stream, so I had like chat who had played recently, so they were giving us advice. So hopefully it's all right, but I don't know. There's always bound to be something, right? Sometimes you like forget wallpaper in a bathroom or you leave out a coffee pot. I don't know. It should be fine though. I believe it is fine. Also, small life update as we're sitting here and chatting. I think as of the day I post this, I'm coming home. Like I'm flying home that day. But me and Dan are actually going to visit his parents this week, which is really exciting. If you didn't know, Dan is from the UK. He moved here in July of last year, finally. It took us like 2 years to get his visa. He's finally here, but he couldn't leave the country until he had his green card. He finally has it, so we can go see his parents, which is awesome. But we're going and we're surprising them. So they don't know we're coming. His brother knows we're coming, but his mom and dad and sister do not know that we're coming. So we're gonna just show up at their house next week. and I'm really excited. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll give you some updates and stuff, obviously. I haven't been talking about it much. I can tell you now because I'm pre-recording a little bit, and by the time you see this, we'll be there already, but I haven't been talking about it because I don't want to like ruin the surprise. But it's kind of weird to be like planning to travel internationally for a week and then like not tell anybody, because I sit here, I talk to you all day, every day, you know? Like, I usually tell my stream so much stuff and my chat so much stuff, but I've been keeping my mouth shut so I don't ruin any surprises. I don't trust you. I say it with love, but I don't trust you to not tell Dan's mom. You'd think like, oh, how would she find out if she doesn't watch your streams? Sometimes she pops in and sometimes she's in his stream, and then what if chat like forgets, even if unintentionally, and they're like, oh my god, hi Becky, how are you doing? Are you excited to see Dan and Kayla next week? And then she's like, huh? Because that would be bad if it got ruined. So anyway, I've been keeping my mouth shut, but that's where I've been. The videos have been pre-recorded for that reason, but I should be back tomorrow. Like, I'm coming home today when you're seeing this. And with that, the build is pretty much done. So let's actually pop back into the game and I'll give you like a proper tour of the finished product, and I'll show you how to replace the lot as well. So remember, here is the original hospital lot. Obviously it is empty now because I bulldozed it. Is that like terrain paint? Oh, that's so weird. They had a whole bunch of weird things going on. There was like random terrain paint. They had random like room pieces just on the floor. I love it, but I can't deliver food or treat patients. Why? I didn't have that problem when I played in it. Oh no. Oh no. Well, anyway. This is how you place it. Obviously, bb.enable free build, then you can place it down. Hopefully it works for you, because that's not good. But this is that finished product of the hospital, and I was quite pleased with how it looks. It's a lot different than the blue windows we had originally tested out, obviously. It was really hard for me to landscape too, because I'm just not super familiar with how to do these things. But here in the back, oh no, I forgot I did that. Here in the back, there is a lovely giant fountain, but more importantly, there's an alligator in it, so that'll appear sometimes when you're playing. I also put some chess tables and some like picnic tables and stuff to have a little bit of outdoor space. This is what the gallery class is as the front of the building, but this is what the game class is as the front of the building. This is where everybody loads in and stuff. It's so annoying how the game does this. You see how it's like flipped backwards for some reason? Very, very annoying. But when you actually first come inside, we've got this little like entryway waiting room, and I wanted to leave a lot of this space open because you'll find when they come and they actually play in here, I assume people will start running in soon, but they all just kind of wait around. These patients were like pre-routed to the beds because they were already sitting there when I bulldozed it, but when new patients come in, they all kind of just stand around like right here. So I wanted to make sure they all had plenty of space there and like weren't obstructed by anything. As you can see, they do use the beds, thankfully. That is very good. But then to the left here, this is that like cafeteria space I was talking about. So it's got like all the things, fridge, vending machines. I put a little TV over here, so hopefully you can get your fun up a little bit if you need to. And then to the right, this hallway takes you into where like everything else is. So down on this far right side, I've got all the patient beds. Each room has like some paper towels and some cabinets and a couple of like little things that I thought would be useful. This room is what I was calling the lab. So it's got a bunch of computers. It has 4, so hopefully they're never too busy. It also has 2 of these little like chemical analyzer thingies and a bathroom for it. That's like the staff bathroom in my head. And then down in this hallway a little bit more, there's 2 more bathrooms. Oh, and also this bathroom you can access from this front entryway. So there's lots of bathrooms downstairs. And then further down this way, we've got a couple of those like exam rooms or like more lab space and stuff. Your Sims use these things to do treadmill tests and x-rays. But I also put like another one of these chemical analyzers in here because if you need one and you're over on this side, you can use it. And then this is that surgery room. Again, extra chemical analyzer just in case. And then upstairs is that sort of employee area. I totally just left this empty because I was not trying to have it be too big. It's cool because it's got like a big overlook into that like lobby space. And then over here, we've got a little bit more stuff. We've got a couple more vending machines. There's a computer, some spots to sit for the employees. They've got 2 bathrooms, both have showers. And then this is that like employee gym area. I mean, you can see already just from our work tasks, we already have to wash our hands. So I'm glad there's sinks like literally everywhere because then you get that task, you can like easily do it. Wants me to grab a snack. Thank you very much. Gladly, I will do that. But that is the entire hospital that I built. I think this is pretty good. You can place this even if you aren't playing in the get to work career. If you have your sim like have a baby at the hospital, you could totally replace the hospital with this one if you wanted to like deliver your baby from. I just have Eliza here because she's at work. Evidently, she is a doctor. I don't know if I'd trust her, but she's here. I don't have a reason to not trust her. I just don't. It's Eliza Pancakes. I just don't. Anyway, that is the completed finished build. Oh, Brittany's here. Ooh, we've got a star. See how they just stand here? Yeah, I need an open space. I will stop rambling at you though. If you want to download it, it's on my gallery. It's just called the Willow Creek Hospital. That was the original name too, I believe. It's interesting. I think that the Get to Work lots are supposed to be like an extension of Willow Creek. Even Magnolia Promenade, I think, is supposed to be like an extension of Willow Creek. And then that like Get to Work Science Lab, I think, is supposed to be an extension of Oasis Springs. It's kind of interesting. But if you liked this video, if you like Sims builds, I do these kind of things literally every day on my channel. So feel free to subscribe because I've got a lot of content for you. And with that being said, I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. You know what? Doing this build has made me want to play with the Get to Work careers again. I'm like, maybe I'll play with a doctor on stream later today. That could be fun.